And then we turned the camera around on him, and it was the same.
When you look at Mel Brooks, you're staring right at the very soul of comedy history itself. At 98, he's more than just a legend. He's living proof that laughter can keep a person strong through life's toughest moments. He's faced heartbreak, said goodbye to his lifelong partner, laid friends to rest, and outlived almost every major icon from his generation. But even after all that, Mel's still the man who could make the whole world crack up, even when times were dark. This is the same guy who once spent quiet nights with Rob Reiner, sharing dinner, watching Jeopardy on TV, and filling the room with endless laughter. Yet recently, when cameras caught sight of Mel outside his peaceful, tucked-away home, where he's lived far from the spotlight, something just felt off. The mood was heavy, the air almost still. No bright grin, no clever one-liner, just a man who looked completely drained, like decades of memories had suddenly weighed down on him all at once. And honestly, it's not hard to see why. The headlines about Rob Reiner, the shocking legal trouble involving his son Nick, and all the recent drama shaking Hollywood have stirred up major waves everywhere. And right in the middle of it all, Mel Brooks has stayed silent. And that silence speaks volumes.
We have a big courtroom, and, Jack has this long monologue. And I said to him before, I said, look, I'll give you a choice. Either I can shoot, if you want to shoot ready now, I'll shoot you right now. If you want some time to work on it, rehearse it, I will shoot all the reaction shots first, and then we turn the camera around on you and, whatever. He said, why don't you shoot the reaction shots, and that will give me So, I got Tom Cruise cut away, Demi Moore, Kevin Bacon, I got Kevin Pollak. I mean, the judge, the jury. I'm doing all the reaction shots.
Everyone in Hollywood knows Mel wasn't just close to Rob's father, he was family. Rob even called him Uncle Mel, the man who changed his diapers, taught him comedic rhythm, and helped guide him from a wild kid into one of the most respected filmmakers in the game. Mel wasn't just sitting on the sidelines, he lived through every moment of their shared story. When Mel Brooks finally opened his doors to a trusted journalist, there were no flashing cameras, no PR team hovering around, no fake smiles for show. Just a small recorder, a quiet living room, and the truth finally spilling out like a dam ready to burst. What came next wasn't some carefully crafted statement. It was raw, emotional, and deeply unsettling. It flipped everything people thought they knew about what really happened inside that Brentwood home. Mel didn't jump right into the troubling event itself. Instead, he started with guilt. Real, heavy guilt that had clearly been eating away at him for years. Sitting back in his chair, his hands shook, not from old age, but from pure frustration. He said people keep calling this whole situation a tragedy, a sudden meltdown, an accident. But with eyes sharp and full of emotion, Mel whispered that it wasn't sudden, and it definitely wasn't an accident.
My father said, there's going to be, he wanted to tell us before we went to sleep that night. He says, when you wake up, there's a man that's coming to visit, a man, and because he didn't want us to get scared if we came in and saw this strange man. There'll be a man sleeping, and so just don't wake him up, he's sleeping. So now at 5:30 in the morning, 6 o'clock, me and my sister, we see this guy, he's like in a window seat, and I go, I said, is that the man? That's the man. And she says, is that the man? Yeah, that's the man. That's the man. And so Mel Brooks wakes up and he sees these two little kids going, are you the man? Are you the man? Says, yes, I'm the man. So that was my first introduction to Mel Brooks. He was the man.
According to him, this was a slow-motion collapse that had been building up for over a decade. Everyone close to them saw it happening, but no one stepped in to stop it. They cared too much, loved Rob too deeply, and didn't want to face the truth. And that's where the real heartbreak sits. Mel, known for being the warmest soul in comedy, admitted that those closest to Rob and Michelle knew Nick was going through serious emotional struggles. Mel made it clear this wasn't some story about a villain suddenly showing up. It was about two parents whose love went too far until it became something that hurt more than it helped. A love so strong it blinded them to what was really happening. Then he drifted back to one Sunday afternoon that still haunted him, 6 months before everything completely fell apart. It was a calm day, sunlight spilling through the windows, the kind of peaceful afternoon that quietly hides all the pain underneath. Rob had dropped by Mel's place just like he'd done 100 times before, but something was different this time. He didn't touch his food, didn't crack a single joke, couldn't sit still. He just paced the room, restless and wired, like a man trapped inside his own thoughts.
Just the thought of a man being, in front of his family like that, and having a couple of sons myself, the thought of being taken away from my sons like that, it's just so profoundly disturbing that, and that feeling permeated the whole making of the movie. I mean, there was a tremendous coming together. Everybody had the feeling that we're doing something important here, and it's meant to be seen, and all of that. And at the same time, we were all kind of holding on to each other a little bit. But there was a lot of...
Rob confided in Mel that Nick had moved back into the Brentwood estate after another attempt to get better. But this time, something about the atmosphere felt darker. Even though Nick was in his 30s, everyone still called him the boy. And that alone, Mel said, told the whole story. Rob admitted that Nick had become unpredictable, on edge, irritable, and easily set off. The tension at home had grown so intense that no one could relax anymore. Then Rob said something that completely froze Mel. He whispered that he'd started locking his bedroom door at night. Rob Reiner, a man known for his warmth and openness, suddenly afraid in his own home. That wasn't just concern, that was genuine fear. When Mel asked why he didn't reach out for help, Rob's answer still echoes in his mind. Rob said, "I promised Michelle I wouldn't give up on him. If I send him away, he's out there alone. But if I keep him here, maybe I can save him." His voice trembled with deep regret as he said he'd begged Rob to wake up, to stop confusing protection with love when it was clearly turning dangerous. But Rob wouldn't listen. That famous Reiner stubbornness, the same drive that made him a Hollywood legend, had now become his biggest weakness at home. The fierce determination that once built his career had blinded him to what was happening right in front of his eyes.
And every time he's off camera, he gives exactly the same performance that you see that's on camera. After 2 or 3, I go up to him and I said, "Jack, maybe you want to save a little, because, I mean, he's full out in every one and he's off camera." And he says, "Rob, you don't understand. I love to act." He says, "I don't get that much of a chance to do a great part." And then we turned the camera around on him and it was the same.
Nailed it.
Mel truly believes that refusal to set boundaries was the turning point where everything quietly began to fall apart. The shocking headlines might grab attention, but what Mel revealed about the money situation made things even harder to hear. People see the fortune, the Castle Rock legacy, the huge success, and assume that kind of wealth makes life easier. But Mel said that couldn't be further from the truth. He explained that during those final 2 years, emotional stress was joined by constant financial pressure, not because Rob or Michelle were struggling, but because the demands just never stopped coming. Mel shared that Nick's requests had become relentless. They weren't just simple asks anymore. They had turned into constant, forceful demands. According to Mel, Nick began framing those demands in emotional terms, insisting he was owed something for how life had treated him. Mel said Nick started twisting his parents' kindness into guilt, using their compassion as a tool to get what he wanted. He made them feel like they were responsible for his unhappiness, and once he had that hold, he kept pushing hard harder, convinced his pain deserved to be repaid in millions. It wasn't random chaos, Mel said. It was calculated, every bit of it. Rob would show up at Mel's place with tears in his eyes, clutching his phone, showing message after message full of guilt trips and emotional blame. Nick accused Rob of everything, his mistakes, his habits, even his unhappiness. And yet, the next day, Rob would always give in. He'd buy him another car, clear his debts, fund another project, anything just to keep the peace for a little while longer.
I talk about it and it's hard for me. When I first visited the site where Medgar Evers was, which is where we shot the reenactment of it, right on the very site, and they were taking me through it. I stood on the driveway at the spot that he was. I started crying, and it's very overpowering. I mean, it takes you over. And
Mel called it the Hollywood illusion, the idea that enough love, money, or patience could rewrite life like it was just another movie script. Rob honestly believed he could direct his son's recovery the same way he directed a film, set the scene, control the tone, and somehow fix the ending. But real life doesn't give second takes, and Mel said he could see the cracks forming long before anyone else dared to admit it. It all came to a breaking point during the holidays last year. It was supposed to be a small family gathering, but from the moment Nick walked in, the atmosphere was tense. The air felt electric, like one wrong word could make the whole night blow up. Mel couldn't take his eyes off Nick, but what really struck him was the way Nick looked at Rob. Cold, intense, almost territorial, like he was claiming control of the room. Then Rob tried to lighten the mood with one of his classic self-deprecating jokes, the kind that normally made everyone burst into laughter. The room chuckled, but Nick didn't even blink. "You need to get him out," Mel told him firmly. "He doesn't look at you with love, he looks at you with control." Mel said he meant every single word straight from the heart, but Rob, being the loyal father he always was, took it the wrong way. "You don't understand him like I do," Rob replied. "He's just in pain." That was the moment Mel broke down during the interview, not out of anger, but out of sheer heartbreak. He wept for Rob, for Michelle, and for the young man he once knew, the kid who used to crawl around Carl Reiner's living room floor while Mel made him laugh from across the room. That sweet, innocent kid had grown into someone who could no longer tell the difference between love and dependence, and Mel said that was the part that tore him apart inside. As one of the last living legends from Hollywood's golden age, Mel feels like he failed. Not just his friends, but his people, his legacy, and the ones who trusted him the most. What haunts him most is knowing he never made that call himself. He never reached out directly. And that guilt, he said, still sits heavy on his chest every single night, a weight he'll probably carry for the rest of his life. Then came the night everything changed, the moment that still feels frozen in time. The official reports might sound cold, filled with timestamps and sterile paperwork, but Mel said the truth behind those hours was painfully human and unforgettable. He knows because Rob called him that night just before everything spiraled completely out of control. It was late, well past midnight. Mel was already in bed when the phone started ringing. At first, he almost let it go to voicemail, but something deep in his gut told him to answer. On the other end was Rob's voice, faint and shaky, filled with exhaustion and fear. This wasn't small talk, and it wasn't one of their usual late-night joke sessions. Mel said it wasn't a goodbye call, but it felt like one. Rob told him he's losing control again. He's upset about the will. He thinks we're cutting him out. Mel's heart sank instantly. He told Rob to leave right now, grab Michelle and go. Get in the car, come here, please, Mel begged him over and over. But Rob's reply hit him like ice. I can't leave Michelle, he said softly. She's with him, trying to calm things down. If I go, she'll face it alone. As Mel retold that part, his voice cracked. Rob Reiner stayed in that house that night, not because he didn't understand the risk, but because his love for his wife was stronger than his fear. He knew the situation was bad. He knew things were spiraling, but he refused to abandon her in the middle of the storm. He stayed to protect her, even knowing it could cost him everything. That, Mel said, was the last time he ever heard his friend's voice. The media might paint Nick as nothing but chaos, but Mel pushes back hard on that view. He says you can't understand what happened without seeing the years of resentment, pressure, and emotional weight that had been building long before that night ever happened. Mel called it the shadow of Carl Reiner, the shadow of a powerful legacy, the crushing weight of being born into greatness and still having to prove your own worth while the world compares you to legends every single day. Mel said that kind of legacy can break a person if they're not strong enough to stand under it. It's not just about fame or money, it's about identity, about never feeling like you're enough even when everyone around you thinks you have it all. Nick wasn't without talent, not at all. He had vision, big ideas, and genuine creativity. But what he wanted was instant fame, the spotlight without the grind. When the industry didn't give him the recognition he thought he deserved, he didn't look inward, he looked outward for someone to blame. And the one who ended up carrying that blame was the very man who had given him everything, his father. Nick started resenting Rob for being too respected, too loved, too admired. He convinced himself that his father's success had somehow stolen his own future, that every rejection, every closed door, every missed opportunity was Rob's fault. Mel said he's seen that kind of mindset too many times in Hollywood, jealousy that quietly eats people alive from the inside. But this time, it went darker than anything he'd ever witnessed. From the outside, the Brentwood estate looked flawless. Lush gardens, trimmed hedges, everything perfectly staged for the world to see. It screamed peace, comfort, and success. But according to Mel, behind those beautiful walls, the cracks had been spreading for years. The damage wasn't loud, it was slow, quiet, patient, eating away at the family. One argument, one silent night, one broken promise. And Mel didn't just hold the family accountable. His frustration turned toward the system built around them, the so-called helpers who were supposed to step in. His tone sharpened when he talked about the therapists, advisors, and consultants who surrounded the Reiners, people who were being paid to guide, support, and protect them. Mel said those professionals should have seen the warning signs long before things reached their breaking point. Where were they, he asked, his voice rising. How could so many smart people stand by and watch a family fall apart right in front of them? Mel said those professionals failed completely, every single one of them. According to him, the very people hired to help ended up softening any warning signs until the truth disappeared. They told Rob and Michelle that tough love was old-fashioned, that what they needed was something called radical compassion. But Mel said all that did was sugarcoat the real problem, turning serious issues into gentle labels that made everyone feel better instead of actually fixing anything. He spoke bitterly about how they took Rob's money and gave him comfort instead of honesty. They told him Nick was struggling, not that things were getting dangerous or out of control. They wrapped destructive behavior in polished clinical language and sent him home with reassurances instead of real solutions. Mel called them enablers in suits, people who stood by while pretending to manage the fire, when really they were just watching it burn from a distance. They sanitized it, Mel said, his voice trembling. They gave it a name, filed it away, but they never called it what it really was, a ticking clock. That's exactly why Mel says he's speaking out now. He's not chasing headlines or trying to sway a courtroom. He doesn't care about the paperwork or the legal back and forth. To him, that part is just noise. The real story, the one that truly matters, has already been written. It's a story about love that went blind, about silence that stretched too long, and about the cost of ignoring the truth until it was too late. Mel Brooks says all he wants now is for people to remember Rob Reiner for who he really was, not just for what happened to him. Rob never gave up, not once. Mel's voice softened as he said that Rob stayed because he truly believed he could still be the father his son needed, the kind of parent who doesn't walk away when things get hard. Mel said that's what real love looks like. It's not flashy or loud, it's quiet strength. Sometimes it's standing right in the middle of the fire, still believing that love can heal what's burning around you. People always say they'd give everything for their kids, but Rob actually did. And that sacrifice, as noble as it was, didn't bring the peace he hoped for. It didn't bring healing. It just locked in a future that no one could change. As the interview wound down, the room around Mel told its own emotional story. The walls were lined with old movie posters, Blazing Saddles, Young Frankenstein, photos of Carl and Rob smiling through the decades, and a framed picture of Anne Bancroft glowing softly in the corner. Mel sat there quietly, surrounded by ghosts of laughter and the weight of a legacy that now felt heavier than ever. He looked like a man stranded on an island made of memories, holding tight to the last flickers of light from a time that's fading fast. He admitted that what hurts the most now isn't anger, it's the silence. The phone doesn't ring anymore. The Sunday dinners are gone. The laughter that once filled his home has disappeared into the echoes of the past. And that silence, Mel said, is the loudest sound he's ever known. He stared off for a long moment before whispering, "The link to Carl is gone. I'm the last one." That truth, he said, follows him everywhere he goes. It's not something he can shake. It's something he carries with him, quietly, every day. Mel Brooks may be the last man standing from a golden era, but even now, through all the loss and all the silence, his voice still carries the same message it always has. Love deeply, laugh loudly, and never stop finding meaning, even when the world goes quiet around you. The hardest part, Mel said, is knowing he saw the cracks forming and still couldn't stop any of it. The guilt doesn't fade, it just sinks deeper with time. He spoke softly about the private funeral being planned, far away from the flashing cameras, the reporters, and the Hollywood red carpets. He said he'll speak there, but people shouldn't expect jokes or clever punchlines. There won't be any humor this time, just raw honesty. He plans to stand up and tell the same truth he told that journalist, real, unfiltered, and straight from the heart. He wants every powerful parent in Hollywood to hear it. Stop believing that fame or money can fix the things love refuses to face. You can't love danger out of someone, Mel said firmly. You can't buy it away. You can't talk it away. For a man who spent his entire life turning heartbreak into laughter, Mel admitted something that made the whole room go still. In this story, there's no punchline left, no comedy, no clever twist to ease the pain, just truth, raw and painful, and the echo of everything that once was. This time, there's no satire, no comforting joke to soften the blow. Mel said quietly, "This isn't absurd. This is what happens when love loses its balance." His words hung heavy in the air, the kind that stays with you long after they're spoken. As the journalist began to pack up his recorder and notes, Mel suddenly reached out and grabbed his arm. His eyes were wet, his hand trembling slightly. He wasn't finished talking, not yet. There was something else he needed to say, something that had been pressing on his chest for months, maybe even years. The kind of truth that doesn't come easy but refuses to stay buried. Mel's voice dropped, low, urgent, and shaking. He said Nick didn't spiral alone. There were people around him, so-called friends, who lived off Rob's generosity, who quietly fed his resentment, who who whispered toxic words just to keep the chaos alive. Mel's voice cracked as he said it. Nick may have held the weapon, he whispered, but plenty of people helped sharpen the blade. That single line said everything. This wasn't the Mel Brooks the world knew, not the entertainer, not the comic genius, but a man standing face to face with truth too painful to ever turn into a joke. For once, there was no act, no humor to hide behind, just honesty, raw, stripped down, and heavy enough to silence the whole room. It cut straight through the polished image of the Reiner legacy, the awards, the fame, the spotless Brentwood lifestyle, all of it gone in an instant. What was left underneath weren't icons or legends, but people, fragile, hopeful, flawed human beings who loved too hard, forgave too easily, and only realized too late where that love had led them. So when the trial begins this January and the cameras turn towards Nick Reiner in that courtroom, Mel says the world shouldn't look away. Don't treat it like just another headline scrolling across your screen. This isn't tabloid drama. It's the real, heartbreaking cost of silence and denial. Mel described himself now, 98 years old, sitting alone in his chair, crying not only for the boy he once bounced on his knee, but for the best friend he couldn't save. Because real truth, he said, isn't clean or comfortable. It's made of ignored warnings, soft excuses, and doors left unlocked because locking them felt too cruel. That's the part no one ever wants to face. Not the explosion at the end, but the slow unraveling that came long before it. Mel's silence is broken now, and the echo of it doesn't fade. It lingers in the air like a cold wind that won't leave. It's a haunting reminder that even the people who spend their whole lives making others laugh sometimes face their darkest battles completely alone. The interview didn't end with any big drama or tears. It ended quietly. Mel turned toward the window, staring out at the bright California sun. The light felt too harsh for a day that heavy. His frame looked fragile, his face marked by nearly a century of laughter and loss. But his eyes were steady, unwavering. He said he's done protecting illusions. No more polishing reputations, no more guarding legacies, no more pretending everything was fine. He's not protecting names anymore, only truth. And that truth, as he told it, is rough but real. Rob Reiner wasn't destroyed in a single night. He was slowly consumed by the same love and loyalty he spent his life trying to protect. That kind of heartbreak doesn't fade away. No amount of laughter can hide it. What's left now, Mel said, is a reckoning, not just for one family, but for everyone watching. A reminder that behind every perfect picture, every glowing Hollywood name, there are cracks we choose not to see. The kind of cracks that widen when silence replaces honesty. Mel Brooks did what few friends could ever do. He told the uncomfortable, unfiltered truth about the man he loved most. And now that truth hangs heavy in the air, impossible to ignore. He stripped away the shine, the smiles, and the movie magic, and what's left underneath is raw humanity, pain, love, and the fragile, unspoken cost of holding a family together when the weight gets too heavy to carry. And that's exactly why Mel says people need to listen. Because when a man near the end of his life speaks with this much honesty, ignoring him would be a huge mistake. The loss of Rob Reiner didn't just break hearts, it shook the very ground of Hollywood itself. But Mel believes that if people truly listen, if they let the lessons sink in, maybe, just maybe, it could finally end that cycle of silence that keeps repeating behind closed doors. The investigation will continue. The trial will play out, and the media will move on. But for Mel, the verdict is already clear. He believes the system failed, the experts failed, and, most painfully, the unconditional love within that family failed too. It's a truth he never wanted to accept, but it's the only one left standing after everything fell apart. And now that truth sits with all of us. Because when the cameras turn away and the headlines fade, Mel is still there, an old man in a quiet house surrounded by memories that won't let go. He carries the weight of a fallen legacy, and that weight doesn't disappear when the world stops watching. It follows him through sleepless nights, through those long, lonely hours when there's no laughter left to chase away the silence. This isn't about blame, Mel said softly. It's about honesty, about finally saying what everyone saw but no one wanted to admit. He insists he's not rewriting history or trying to tear anyone down. He's making sure the story doesn't get lost behind the myth. He doesn't want Rob remembered as just another sad headline. He wants people to understand the long road that led there, the years of small cracks that everyone ignored, the gentle excuses that turned into denial, and the kind of love that blinded instead of saved. This story isn't supposed to be comfortable, Mel said, his tone steady but heavy, because real life isn't neat or tidy. It leaves cracks, it leaves guilt, and it leaves you wondering what might have changed if you'd made just one different choice. He admitted speaking out doesn't bring him peace. If anything, it makes the ache sharper, but staying silent felt worse. Silence, he said, felt like betrayal. So now he speaks, not as a legend, not as a comedian, but as an old man who loved his best friend and had to watch him walk into something he couldn't stop. The truth he carries is heavy, unfinished, and painfully real, and it lingers long after the conversation ends. There was one last thing Mel said that didn't make the headlines, but the reporter couldn't stop thinking about it. The hardest part, Mel said quietly, isn't just losing Rob, it's realizing how close everyone came to stopping it and still didn't. He talked about the warning signs that only made sense in hindsight, the tension, the unease, the moments everyone brushed aside because naming them felt too uncomfortable. Mel admitted he doubted himself sometimes too. He wondered if he was being dramatic, if maybe age had made him overly cautious, or if love had blinded him, just like it had blinded Rob. That self-doubt, Mel said, is where danger grows. It takes root in hesitation, it feeds on politeness, and it survives in the comfort of pretending everything is fine. Rob lived in that tension, Mel explained, torn between protecting his family and protecting the perfect image he'd built. He didn't want to be the father who gave up. He didn't want to be the man who admitted things had gone too far. But in trying to protect what he loved most, he lost sight of what really mattered: truth, honesty, and the courage to say enough. That pressure to stay patient, to keep showing kindness, to keep believing things would change, it slowly trapped him. The most painful truth, Mel said, is that none of it came from bad intentions. Everyone genuinely thought they were doing the right thing, the loving thing. Everyone believed that just one more chance might finally fix it. Then Mel leaned back in his chair, the exhaustion carved deep into his face after years of carrying what he knew. Love without limits stops being love. It becomes fear dressed up as compassion. His words hung in the air, heavy and haunting. The reporter noticed that Mel didn't look angry anymore, just deeply, painfully tired, the kind of tired that only comes after decades of regret. It was obvious he wasn't talking for attention. He was speaking because the truth had become too heavy to carry alone. Mel didn't sugarcoat a thing. When people called what happened unthinkable, he shook his head. That's exactly how the world avoids responsibility. This wasn't lightning out of nowhere. It was a storm that had been warning everyone long before it finally hit.
He went on to say that Hollywood has a dangerous habit of romanticizing dysfunction, especially when it's wrapped in fame, money, and talent. Behaviors that would never be excused in an ordinary family suddenly get labeled as
eccentric or creative. Red flags turn into PR talking points, and real danger gets brushed aside like it's just a personal quirk. Rob got caught in that, Mel said quietly. Everywhere he turned, people told him to be kind, to be patient, to be understanding. But almost no one told him to be careful. He paused for a moment, then added softly, "Fear isn't weakness, it's information." Mel said there's a big difference between empathy and surrender, and Rob crossed that line without even realizing it. Not because he was naive, but because he was loyal. Loyal to the very end. Rob truly believed that love could outlast anything, that if he just kept giving, it would all work out. But Mel said that kind of belief, as pure and beautiful as it sounds, can become dangerous when reality refuses to play along. His voice trembled, not from anger, but from painful recognition. Too many families will see themselves in this, he said quietly. The silence, the excuses, the endless hope that tomorrow will fix what today clearly won't. That's why Mel keeps speaking out, not to shame anyone, but to break the illusion that this tragedy came out of nowhere. Because it didn't. Sometimes the warning isn't quiet, sometimes it's screaming, and people just don't want to hear it. His words hit hard, echoing like a truth too long ignored. In the end, this story leaves behind one haunting truth. Fame protects no one, not from heartbreak, not from betrayal, and not even from the pain caused by the people you love most. Behind the glamour and the awards, behind the red carpets and the applause, there are human hearts, fragile, flawed, and breakable. Rob Reiner's legacy will live forever through his films. That part's permanent. But because Mel Brooks chose honesty over silence, that legacy now carries something even deeper. A message, a warning, and a painful lesson about the limits of love and the fragile edges of the human heart. The silence is broken, and the truth is finally out. And this story cuts deeper than any Hollywood script ever could. This isn't a tale meant to comfort you. It's meant to wake people up before it's too late. Don't let this story fade away into another passing headline. Let it stay with you. Let it make you think. Let it push you to look closer at your own world, your family, your boundaries, and the silences you might be ignoring. If this story hit you, don't just scroll past. Hit that like button so more people see it and the message spreads. Drop your thoughts in the comments because your voice matters here. Every comment, every word keeps these stories alive. Share this video with someone who needs to hear it, someone who might be hiding behind their own version of silence. And don't forget to subscribe for more real Hollywood stories, the ones that don't sugarcoat, that dig deep, and that refuse to be buried under fake smiles and red carpet glitz. Some stories aren't meant to entertain, they're meant to open eyes and start conversations that matter. And this one should stay with you long after the screen goes dark. Because sometimes the most powerful stories aren't about fame or fortune, they're about truth, love, and what happens when the laughter finally fades.